2 kilometers beneath the Antarctic ice, water reaches temperatures so low that salt struggles to remain liquid. It is a world of absolute cold. In 1928, marine biologist Ditlev Rustad pulled a net from these depths and found a creature that didn't seem to belong to the world above. It had thin, translucent skin, wide eyes, and gills the color of new snow. Most striking was what spilled from its veins. Every other vertebrate on Earth carries a deep crimson fluid to sustain its life. This fish bled clear, a liquid as pale as weak tea. For nearly a century, this has been called the impossible fish. It lacks the red blood cells we consider universal to vertebrate life, yet it hunts and thrives in the most extreme environment on the planet. In almost every animal, oxygen binds to iron atoms inside hemoglobin. This multiplies the blood's carrying capacity by 70. In the icefish, that protein disappears.
Oxygen dissolves directly into the plasma, resulting in an oxygen capacity only 10% of its relatives. Running a complex, hunting body on a tenth of the normal oxygen budget should lead to total system failure. By the rules of biology we apply to everything else, this animal should not be alive. The fact that it survives suggests that the limits of what a body can endure are far broader than we once believed. The icefish has found a way to operate in the space where the rules of physiology say it should stop. This story began 5 million years ago in the vast freezing basin of the Southern Ocean, isolating Antarctica from the rest of the world. It was here that a genetic parasite known as a transposable element invaded the icefish genome. It copied itself into the chromosome, and in a sudden mutation, the instructions for building hemoglobin were simply deleted. In almost any other ocean, this loss would have been the end of the lineage. An animal that cannot transport oxygen effectively cannot sustain its own cells. However, very cold water has a specific physical property. It can dissolve far more oxygen than warm water. Because the Southern Ocean was at the freezing point, it was the most oxygen-rich water on Earth. The environment acted as an external life support system, providing just enough oxygen to catch the species exactly when its internal systems failed. The environment alone wasn't a permanent solution. To thrive with thin, watery blood, it radically re-engineered its anatomy from the inside out. Its heart grew to nearly 3 times the size of its relatives, pumping twice the volume of blood through capillaries that are wider and more deeply branched to maximize every drop. It developed a unique protein, originally a digestive enzyme, that now binds to ice crystals in the blood, acting as an antifreeze to stop the body from freezing solid from the inside. Then there was the problem of weight. Having lost their swim bladders long ago, the fish needed a way to stay buoyant in the water column without sinking. Over millions of years, the icefish shed its bone density. It replaced its heavy, calcified skeleton with lightweight cartilage and connective tissue, becoming almost weightless. A massive heart, antifreeze in the veins, and a skeleton of cartilage. This is a body defined by the genetic instructions it threw away. This anatomy demands a very specific lifestyle. Operating on a fraction of its usual oxygen budget, the icefish cannot afford to chase prey. It must remain perfectly still in the darkness. It waits for the slow ocean currents to bring food toward it, watching for the drift of krill and small fish in the dim light. When a meal is close enough, the icefish strikes with a single explosive snap of its jaws, consuming its prey in an instant, and then immediately returns to total stillness. Every aspect of its life is a study in metabolic frugality. It has turned a severe biological deficit into a patient, sustainable existence. We are taught that evolution is a slow process of building, adding new genes and more complex structures to a species over time. The icefish suggests that loss can be a design strategy. It demonstrates that the space left behind by a missing gene can be just as influential as the gene itself. This is why scientists are currently studying the icefish genome to understand human failure. They are looking for clues in the animal's survival that might apply to our own medicine. Low bone density and an absence of red blood cells are commonly treated as diseases in humans, osteoporosis and anemia. Yet in the icefish, these same traits are the mechanisms that allow it to survive. By understanding how a vertebrate thrives while technically biologically broken, we may learn how to protect human cells during periods of extreme oxygen deprivation. But the very environment that made this biology possible is now its greatest threat.
The Southern Ocean is warming, and for the icefish, every fraction of a degree matters. As water warms, it loses its ability to hold dissolved oxygen. The icefish operates on a margin so thin that even a small change can drop the oxygen levels below what its clear blood can sustain. It is an evolutionary dead end. The fish cannot grow its hemoglobin back. Those instructions were deleted 5 million years ago. It cannot adapt to the heat because the tools it needs are gone. We are left with a ghostly, hyper-specialized creature that relies on a narrow band of cold that is rapidly disappearing. The icefish is a body built by subtraction. It stands as evidence that survival is not always about what is gained, but how a life adapts when a fundamental rule is stripped away.